Hi, it's Orla here from A Touch of Sparkle again, and today I'm going to be doing a request on my Facebook page. I was asked to do a full hand wedding theme, and they wanted a bride and a groom, flowers, cake, rings, champagne, the lot. So we're going to start off with the nail polishes I used. I'm going to do a French on all the fingers, apart from the ring finger. I have them the full purple, so that would match whatever colour theme they were going for on the day. So on the ring finger I'm going to do the bride and the groom, and then the flowers, a cake, and on the full purple one I'm going to do lovely gold rings, and then on the little finger I'm going to do the champagne flutes. Might have to do this one in two parts, we'll have to see. So I'm going to start off with the colours and nail varnish I used. For the base I used e.l.f. light pink, and for the tip again was e.l.f. and that is dark glitter purple. I hope the lighting is okay, if you can see everything. So now onto the brushes we're going to be using. So my all-purpose detailing one there, my long detailer, my tiny detailing brush, and my dotting tool. We're also going to be using a sponge like this for the flowers, and the paints again are Folgard paints. This is them there, and this is my colour palette for today, so I'll be able to mix any colours I need. So I mixed pink and yellow to get the skin tone there, and a little bit of white. So let's get started. First we're going to start off with the all-purpose detailing brush, that one there, and we will start with the bride and the groom. So just going to do a rough outline of where they shall be on it. So pull this in a little bit closer. Yeah. So it's going to be the bride and the groom together. So one head will be roughly about there, and the other just roughly about there. This is just to get an idea of where they will be on the nail. So the head, and then of course the bride will be in white, the groom will be in a suit. So we'll just do her shoulder there, and her arm, and then the groom's arm will be in black, meeting up with hers there. So we'll let that dry before adding detail onto it. Now for the flowers, I'm just going to get my sponge. I'm just going to make really light flowers. So I have paint on my sponge, dip it in, and then just take off any excess. And just gonna go. So it just looks like a mishmash of flowers, and we'll add detail to it once it's dry. And then to the middle finger is going to be a cake. So it's going to be a white cake with a purple band going around. So the usual 3-tier. So it does not do perfect because we're going to go back over all these to give them even more detailing. Actually, we might make this a 4-tier cake, but why not? Next, just gonna close it in a little. Not perfect, just to get the base layer drying as we do the other nails. So you can roughly make out the shape of a cake there. Now, to the ring finger, I'm going to get my gold paint. I don't put my gold paint out on the palette because it dries very quickly. So there it is there. So I'm just going to do 2 bands intertwined with each other. So this is just a rough outline. Now that's just it to start off with, if you can see it there. So you can see the paint is kind of shrinking away, and because the gold is very watery, so the water will shrink, so it's wait for it to dry and then go over it again. And then for the champagne flutes, what I'm going to do is get a bit of white, mix it with tiny bit of skin tone, just to make it almost see-through colour. Yeah, I think you can see that there in the background. It's going to get a little bit more white. And glass is one of the hardest things to paint, because it is very see-through. You want to be able to see the liquid in it, but yet you want to be able to see an outline. So this is going to show you the liquid inside it. So it's going to be, and then the other one. Then we'll add bubbles and more detail to that now in a few minutes. I'm going to get gold again. For the stem, a little bit of excess water got on there, so just have to take that off with your finger. And then again, wait for this to dry. And we'll add more detail to it. So now back to the bride and groom. They should be almost dry. Just turn the hand around here. Yeah. So using more of the skin tone, I'm going to go back over it and put in details, such as, because it's profile, you'd have to put in the nose. And then fill it in a little bit more in the part with the neck. Then we'll put his hair on and more detailing. So now this is onto the bride again. Fill her nose in and her neck and the arm again. Now we're going to give the groom some hair. Just going to mix up a brown. I don't know if you can see this in the back. Yeah. So I'm going to give the bride the same hair, but with a little bit of blonde in it. I'm just going to mix a tiny bit of yellow, make kind of a mousy brown coloured hair. Now the hair doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to do a veil over it as well. Give her kind of an updo, and then we'll add more detail to it. So you can kind of see them starting to look like people. Just going to give her a bit more of a face. There. So that's the basic hair and the face done. So the man, we're going to go on and do his suit using black. Now, so his shoulder, would be pretty much here. And then his arm going down to hold hers. And there's his chest coming in. So leave a space here just for the collar. The collar of his shirt. So there's his tux added. If you wanted, you could give him a little top hat. Now onto the bride's dress. Make sure you get all of the black out of your brush. You don't want a grey bride wedding dress, do we? So it's going to be strapless dress. So you have to do the bust there, and then coming down and poofing it a little bit. Yeah, so there is the start of her. Just going to give her a bit more shoulder here. Now the black is almost dry, so just going to add in his collar. So when the collar is on, just pull it down to make a little bit of the shirt at the front, and then we'll go in and cut that out to make more black. So going to wait for that to dry, then we'll add her veil and the details to her face. And so while we're waiting for that to dry, what we'll do is we'll move on to the flowers. So where we have, using the sponge, put the flowers in, we're going to add some more details. So again, using the detailing brush, we're going to pull down here to make the bouquet. So just a rough outline of where she would be holding. Now, so it's just a rough place to hold, and then to go in with the same sponge again, this time with yellow. So dipping it in like that, and then just, see if you can see it, just dipping it off to get rid of any excess. We need very, very, very little on this. So it adds even more detail to it and more dimension. So again, with the green, so taking off any excess until you get the sponge effect. So there's some green in there now, and then back to the purple. Going down over the white we just done. So you can kind of see some of the detail there. Now, back using your detailing brush. I'm going to add a purple ribbon. And going to dip into some black and take the excess off your brush again. Just add some detailing with shading where flowers would end. They shouldn't be perfect flowers because you just want the illusion of the flowers. So I'm not going into each flower individually. And this way they don't have to match exactly to the flowers she has on the day. Because unless she has a picture, you won't be able to match them exactly. So I'm going to get some black and a little bit of water on my brush and water it down a tiny bit, and just add even more shading there. and then into the yellow again with the detailing brush. Taking excess off, and I'm just going to put a couple of little dots. Now we've done this with the sponge, so there's some in the background, but this is just to bring some more to the front of it. Again, it just adds more depth and dimension to the picture. Going back over the ribbon, and when that's all dry we can add more ribbon to it. So I'm going to give that a few seconds, and now onto the cake. So again into the white, and now this time we're going to neaten it all up. So just squaring off the tiers a little. Now again, it does not have to be the exact same as this. You could do your own interpretation, or if the bride brings along pictures, you go exactly from the pictures and paint from that. Which is when I do take a bridal booking, I do encourage that, to bring pictures so you know exactly what you're going to be doing. Right, so there's all the white done. Gonna let that dry again. Now, wash your brush, make sure to take all the water off it so there's none of the barrel, and then into the gold paint. So you can see where the gold shrunk away the last time. And so again, another rough outline of them. So you want them interlocking though, we'll put a ribbon in the middle. And if you wanted, you could even put an inscription on them. So into more paint. And you'll see it shrinking away again because it is so watery. What you could do to stop that is put down some base coat underneath that. But I find it takes away from the sparkle of the polish we have underneath. So onto the champagne again. Now I can see that that colour is too light for champagne, so I'm just adding a little bit more skin colour to it. That's a little bit better. So it's just all about building up the layers to get the perfect design that you want. And I'm just going up around the base of the glass, pulling down into the stem. But again, this could be silver if they were having silver bands, or even if they're having white gold. You can see this gold here is dry, so I'm just going to go over a bit, again the bits that shrunk away. And just let that dry for a couple of minutes. Now onto the cake again. We can see that all the white is dry there. So we're going to get the long detailing brush. This one here. It's going to wet it a little bit. And then drag it into the purple. Get some nice purple on it. So this is going to go around the base of each layer. Now we're just putting in the base here, and then we'll make it look a little bit rounded. So it looks a little bit more 3D. Then right down at the bottom. Now at this stage you could put the initials of the bride and the groom at the top. So what I'm going to do is in black put my initial, and then another, just do A. So you'd start them off in black, and then you could go over them in gold, silver again, depending on the colour they wanted. And you could also do different styles of letters. You could do calligraphy letters up there. Now, to wait for that purple to dry before we can add more to it. So using the long detailer still, we're going to add more detail to this ribbon here. So we're going to do the ribbon dangling off. Now, while we have the purple on our brush, I'm going to add some more purple in here. Again, just to bring more out to the front. Now we have to wait for that to dry before we can. Now we're going to go on back to the bride and the groom. So where we brought the white down on the groom, we have to go in and cut into that with the black to make it look more like a suit. So just adding detail there. And then, oh, too much there. And place for its tie. Well, we'll do a dicky bow. Now let's go on to the faces. So going back to my detailing brush, we're going to add in details for the eyes and the mouth. So the easiest way to do eyes is to start off with the black outside. And you just do this by just pressing down on the black. Like that. And the same for the bride. So using the brown we made earlier, I'm going to get my tiny detailing brush. I'm going to add eyebrows. So you can't really see the bride's eyebrows because they're covered by her hair. Just going to cut in a little bit there. Yeah. And we're going to do the same with the lips. Start with the outline. Just makes everything a little bit easier. So big smiles because they're happy on their wedding day. Now, so you can see the eye is dry, so I'm going to get some white. So you should be able to see that there. So you can still see kind of an outline. You can see the lips are dry, so we're going to go into the red. Now I'm going to give them another few minutes to dry. And we will go back to the cake. So we can see it's all dry, so we're going to get our gold paint again. And this time I'm actually going to water down the paint, so we're going back to the detailing brush. I'm going to take some out so you can see how watery gold paint is. So I'm going to take some out. I'm going to add even more water to it. So it's just going to add a shimmer over the cake. So we don't want to mask the colour, we just want to add some shimmer to it. So the camera might not pick up the shimmer, but when top coat is on and it hits the light, you'll see the different shimmers, and again adds more of a 3D effect to it. If you wanted to go over the whole cake with it as a pearlescent type finish, I'm just going to go over the topping. So actually I think I will go over the cake. I'm just going to water down some more here. So I'll add kind of like a pearlescent finish to the cake, as if it was airbrushed. Yeah. So back to these rings. So what we're going to do is get the long detailing brush and into the black, taking off any excess. So I'm going to start on this ring here. I'm just going to outline and neaten the whole thing up a little. So you don't want too much paint onto the brush, otherwise your lines will be way too thick. And then onto the other one. Yeah, so there is two. Now they look like they're on top of each other, so we're just going to interlink them. And you can do that by cutting in this ring into this one at either the top or the bottom. So I'm going to do it along the top. Ooh, too much paint. So you can see the interlink there. So then you just go over this. We're going to add some ribbon. I'm going to add that in white to match the dress. Let's save any excess water. I'm just going to fill it all in. Yeah. So that is that nail done. So we're going to go on to the champagne glasses. So what we're going to do is get white, add a tiny dot of black, and mix a really pale grey. And we're going to water that down slightly so it's even more suture. So I'm going to switch back to my detailing brush. So we're going to build up onto the glass. So the champagne glasses are almost done. Just going to round off the champagne a tiny bit. So your champagne glasses are intertwined. So you can just see a little bit of gold that's out of place here. Now, so you could even outline these if you wanted to, but you would have to do more of an effect to the glass if you're going to do that. And you could do that by adding a glitter or any type of shimmer to it, like a silver shimmer or an opalescent shimmer. So that's the ring done, and that is the cake done. And the flowers are almost done. We're just going to add some of that watered down gold to it. Again, just add some shimmer to it. You don't want the gold to take over. You just kind of want to leave a nice shimmer. And now we're going to go back and finish the bride and groom. So let's put in more detail onto their eyes. So I'm going to make them both have green eyes. Have them both looking at each other there. And now we're going to add her veil. We're going to do that by cutting off another piece of sponge now. Cut off this tiny bit. So what we're going to use is the very point of it there. So into the white, going to take it out to make like a netting across her face. So as you can see on me here, it's not going to bring out much white, but it'll bring out enough to give the illusion of the veil, if you can see it there. So just going to go back over. So you just want to use the very tip, otherwise you'll get it all over the groom too, like I just did there. Yeah. So you can see there, before it dries, you can just rub it off anywhere it's not meant to go. And you can see where I'm going to have to fix their faces now. Got a little bit zealous with them. So I'm going to have to redo her eye. And it just shows you how easy it is to fix little mistakes that are made. Now we want the veil to be kept coming down there over her face. So while it's drying, I'm just going to get a little bit of white. I'm going to stipple out my brush so it's dry, but with a little bit of paint on it. Just to run it down the front. And then when we have our eye finished, we can add it over the rest of our face. Eye, then a little bit of white. And then tiny bit of green. We want the green towards the front of our eye so it looks like they're looking at each other. And then drying off my brush and roughing it up a little bit. So it's like that, and then into the white. Dab out any we don't need or want. And then we can continue to add more of the veil. So we're just going to outline the veil a little bit. So it's a long veil. Yeah. So there is the bride and groom. The flowers, the cake, the rings, and the champagne glasses. So what we've left to do now is to top coat them and bring out all those colours. And you'll be able to see even more the shimmer as it hits the light. And you'll see the glitter that is in the tip that I used. The e.l.f. nail polish. Which are absolutely amazing. And especially for the price. Now you'll really see all the colours of the flowers come out now. The sponge effect is really great and can be used for a lot of things. All you need is those tiny sponges. So you can even see their eyes pop there when you put that on. So there is the bridal design, and that was requested by one of my Facebook friends. If you want to request a video or a tutorial, even a photo step by step, all you have to do is email me at touchofsparkle1@gmail.com or go onto my Facebook page, Nail Art Inspiration, or find me on Facebook at A Touch of Sparkle. I'll put the links below. If you like it, please press the thumbs up and share with all your friends. I want to get as many people to view them as possible. And the more they view, the more they can request, and the more videos there will be. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me, and I will try to help. So it's Orla again, and until next